Welcome to the Sippin With Sin podcast about stuff and things pertaining to gaming, content creation, horror, comics, music, pop culture, and more. Grab your favorite beverage, take a sip with us, and let's start the show. Oh, we're finally here, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, mammals, cats, chickens, ducks of all ages. We're finally doing the thing. It's only been it's been a long time in the works, but we're finally starting the episode. So just want to do a brief introduction of what we are doing here. This is the Sippin With Sin podcast. Episode 1 is a podcast that's going to go over all kinds of different topics, from gaming, content creation, streaming, music, horror, pop culture, comics, all kinds of things, movies. Lots of stuff. So we're going to cover things. We're going to have some guests. We have some awesome co-hosts. And we're going to have a beverage while we do all that. Because who doesn't like to have your favorite tasty beverage while talking about lots of fun topics? So just a brief introduction of myself. My name is Sinister. I am a full-time content creator. I've been a full-time content creator for going on 4 years now. I've been in the streaming space, streaming as a hobby off and on for probably almost 10 years at this point. So I've been around a while. Full-time 4 years. Was on Twitch back as a hobby, moved to Mixer, went full-time, was partnered with Mixer. Mixer shut down. Now I'm on Facebook Gaming, streaming every morning, bright and early, around 5 a.m. Way too early to be playing video games, but I do. Because who doesn't want to see people fail while they're getting ready for work or ending their third shift journey? So I do that. Also put content on YouTube and all the other platforms. I'm also a brand new father to a 3-month-old. So that is also a very fun, adventure that I am going through. I used to do music, and that's about it for me. Nothing too crazy. Big horror fan. And But without further ado, we're going to get into our esteemed co-host, the one and only Christian, and let's hear what he has to say in a quick introduction of himself. Welcome, Christian. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me. This podcast has been a long time coming, and most of that is on me. I do apologize. I'm still learning, trying to get my stuff together. I am a big horror fan, sometime content creator, all the time nerd. I'm here to bring you guys some of the juiciest tidbits of information that I have and some opinions that you may or may not want to hear. But I'm here. Like I said, guys, I'm a huge horror fan. I'm a giant Batman connoisseur, and I think that I have exactly what this podcast needs to give you guys that injection of spirit. And we're going to get started. We're going to start right away.
Oh, yeah. So give it up for Christian. Gets a double air horn to start the thing. Okay, so some nice little introductions for us. I guess we will start with what have you been watching, reading, playing, or listening to lately? For me, what have I been gaming and playing? For the previous 3 months, I've been on Halo Infinite. Huge Halo fan. Been playing online since Halo 3. The first ones I played was Halo 1 and 2. Offline.
Did you get to play Halo 2 online?
I did not play Halo 2 online. I missed it, and I wish I could have played it. I didn't have an original Xbox, though, so I couldn't play Halo 2 online. But I actually got hurt back then, and my cousin brought an Xbox over, and we played offline the campaigns, and I was like, oh, this is sweet. And then I got a 360, and Halo 3 dropped, and I was like, well, let me get in this. And then it was just a pure addiction of just playing Halo 3 all the time. So I've been playing a lot of Infinite lately. Halo Rage is a real thing that I forgot about because I hadn't been playing Halo in so long because the Halo games kind of fell off a little bit for me. And I forgot about how mad.
Do you remember?
Do what?
Do you remember exactly when the Halo games fell off for you?
I remember Halo 4 I was super excited about because we were coming off 3, which was one of the best ones. If not the best one, depending on who you ask. And then we went to Reach, and I played a lot of Reach. And then 4 was coming out, and I remember watching everything they released, like about the orchestra, about recording gun sounds, all that stuff. I watched everything and was super excited. Got it at midnight, back when midnight releases were a thing, and played the crap out of it for days. And then I played it for a couple months actually, and then it just, I don't know, it didn't grip me like the others, so I didn't stay latched onto it. I don't know if it was how the leveling system was, I don't know. There was something off about it. And then I played 5, but we also had a period where we had just got our house and we didn't have internet. So it kind of hurt us playing 5. But we did play 5, fun fact, on me and Mrs. Sin's honeymoon. We took an Xbox down where we went on honeymoon and we played Halo 5. Yeah. Because we're nerds, and that's what we do.
That's really cute. That's really cute.
But I've been playing Halo, kind of taking a break from it. Was playing a lot of Apex Legends. I've played some of the new seasons, pretty good. Pretty cool. The event's been fun. They just had their 3-year anniversary. I've played Apex since literally day one, since they announced. I downloaded it that day and played it. But I'm kind of...
It's hard to believe that game's been out for 3 years already.
It's wild. And they had one of the coolest releases, in my opinion, just because they were like, hey, announcement. Oh, we're making a BR. Respawn. Titanfall universe. Oh, by the way, it's out today for free. It's like super cool because you're just like, wait, what? But I'm almost a little bit on a break from shooters. I've been caught up in Lost Ark. I don't know if you know much about it or if you like that style of game, but pretty much it's like a Diablo style dungeon crawler MMO. And it come out.
That's kind of cool. Like I've seen some of that, and I think I've actually caught little pieces of you streaming that before, and that game gets really intense with what you can do.
Oh yeah, it's super fun. It's actually been out for come out in 2019, I believe, over in Korea, and it's just now coming to the States and like over here. Amazon is helping release it with the studio. I forgot the name now. Smilegate. There we go. Smilegate.
Okay.
And it's awesome. I've been playing the Berserker, just spinning around, chopping stuff up. It adds so many elements from different games. Like it's plays like Diablo, like the click and move, and then all the abilities and stuff. But then you have kind of like Diablo Rifts, which are they're called like chaos dungeons, and essentially it's just endless waves of enemies coming at you until you hit 100%, and you just cut them up with like 4 people. And then they have like a Monster Hunter style that's called what are they called? I forgot what the name of the thing is now. It's like literally it's 4 people and you just go hunt down a boss. And then you have like abysmal dungeons, which are like hard WoW dungeons, and then there's like a tower that's like this tower you move up of enemies and difficulty. And then that's not even like all of it. There's still like a cube, and there's like 8-man raid. There's all kinds of stuff. Like there's a ton of content in this game, and mounts, and just I don't know. It's a really cool game. I've really been enjoying it. It's a fun game to stream in the mornings too, and like have coffee and just play around and goof off.
I miss games like that where you could just kind of play something for a little bit and let it go and it was fine. You know what happened to those days?
Oh, I miss those days. Now everything's crazy. I feel like you have to like stay on top of it. That's kind of what I don't know. I've played WoW for a long, long time, and I got back into WoW before this most recent expansion, and I was super into it. I was leveling all these characters, and the expansion came out. I was like, oh, this is really cool, and I maxed my level. And then I just felt like pressure to do stuff I didn't feel like I wanted to do. I was like, I want to do this now. And people were like, no, to do right, you need to do this. You need to like farm That's this fair. Stuff. And I was like, well, I don't want to do it. So I stopped playing.
Yeah. That happens a lot.
What about you? Are you playing anything right now? Like any games going on with you?
Real honestly, like I'm not playing too many games right now. Like I'm still one of those unfortunate souls who doesn't have like the newest Xbox or PS5, right? So I've been trying to like hold out. I played a couple of games, but they disappointed the hell out of me, man. Like the last real big title that I bought into was Cyberpunk. Yeah. And I'm not gonna lie to you, man. Cyberpunk came out, I bought it, I played it, I made my character, my V, and I was really into it. But there were so many bugs, and it got to the point to where it was just funny. I was playing it anyway because it was hilarious, and it was brand new, and it's Cyberpunk. You're doing all this cool shit, but like the thing that got me is this: people started like really getting into the bugs of the game. So like you couldn't go anywhere online without seeing how bad the game was, unless you got it on PC, which I did not. And so I kind of let the game go. I didn't like fully write the game off, but it wasn't the best. And then they were going to do upgrades, and they didn't, and they did, and blah blah blah. So I kind of let that go. And then I played like some Miles Morales Spider-Man, which was dope. I wish it was a longer game for sure, but I'm kind of just waiting for the new titles to come out on PS5. You know, I really want to play this new Wolverine game they got coming out. I want to play the Midnight Suns game that's coming out.
Isn't Wolverine done by the same studio that did the Spider-Man game?
Yeah. Same people. So I'm really excited for that. But like, as you know, the listeners may not know, I'm a giant fighting game fan, and I love fighting games. So I know they just announced like the new Street Fighter coming out. I think it's Street Fighter 6. So that's really cool. But I'm waiting for NetherRealm to give us information.
That's my favorite, like my favorite fighting game studio by far. I love NetherRealm.
Dude, I love them too, man. Everybody's talking about, oh man, I'm so excited for Mortal Kombat 12, and I'm like, no.
Justice 3, if that's a thing.
Justice 3, everything. I love those games. What was that?
You broke up for a second. Sorry.
I was just saying that I love. No problem. But I love those games. That's really what I'm into. I can't wait to, play as Batman, Superman, Flash. Hopefully Huntress in this new one, and just like throw down. Like that's what I'm looking for. So
isn't there
I can't
a
wait for
rumor?
that. But aside from that,
isn't there a rumor that NetherRealm got they have some kind of deal possibly with Marvel? Have you heard that they're making a Marvel game? Maybe
I did hear that, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I kind of hope it's not true.
Yeah, I like the darkness of the Injustice game. I'm not gonna lie. I tend to gravitate more to those kind of stories for some reason. But I like that the Injustice story. If people haven't checked it out, I fully recommend checking it out. That is a really good story, and the game is super fun. And you can go back and you can probably get them for like $20 or less and play the original Injustice game. And it's a really good fighting game story.
I loved it, man. We actually played that quite a bit online.
Yeah, we did,
and we had some intense matches. I remember, and even your wife played. Man, she played Harley Quinn pretty well. It was fun.
Heck yeah. So you brought up
that. I'm not really playing.
You brought up Cyberpunk, so it was a disappointment to you. I actually liked Cyberpunk. I thought it was a good story. I did run into a few bugs in my playthrough. There was one that was almost game breaking and I almost lost everything, like all my progress, but I was able to get around it, which was a huge relief. But other than that, all the other bugs for me were just funny, goofy bugs that I was like, well, this is stupid. And then I would go on my way. But I thought like taking those out, the story and all the like elements of the game were fun. Like I enjoyed my playthrough of it.
I will say this. Cyberpunk is one of the few games that I would love for a company to just like re-release, like actually completed game to re-release.
Yeah,
I would totally go for it. Companies all the time they release a game that you think is really good and you're really excited for it and it's cool, but the game lasts about 4 hours, 5 hours tops, and then they start releasing a bunch of stuff for you to do later, and each thing that they release costs more money and costs more money and costs more money. So by the time you get everything for the game, you've already spent $200, and then you got like a 9-hour game that you should have got to begin with. So that does get annoying, but Cyberpunk is definitely one of those games that I would absolutely play again, assuming that the bugs are fixed, because I do remember some of those game-breaking things. I remember there was a bug for me that got really bad and then got really good, and it was like a swimming bug. So like I would go and swim and wherever I was going, and I would just like get a whole bunch of loot from cars or whatever that have driven off the road into the water, so the AI would just die and I would just get all their stuff. So like my V had so many guns and swords and stuff that I got solely from all these drowned characters. So that was fun for me, but at the same time I was like, I highly doubt this is supposed to happen. But other than that, no, I haven't really been playing a whole lot of games. I've been watching stuff though. I've been watching a lot of stuff.
One last game I want to touch on before we go into what we've been watching. You mentioned you played Miles Morales. You played the Spider-Man game too, right? Before?
Oh, absolutely. I didn't just play that game. I lived that game. Okay. I felt that game. I cried for that game. Okay. That's how much I was into it.
I actually just started playing it around Christmas, and it's been kind of one of those games that like while I'm watching my son, I can play for a little bit. And for whatever reason, I guess just the colors and stuff, he's been into Spider-Man. And so playing that game, he'll sit there and just like watch it with me. And we've been going through it at my first playthrough, and I think I'm about done with it. And then I'm going to play Miles Morales afterwards. But that game is fantastic. Like I have no complaints with that game. I have thoroughly enjoyed it. Just swinging through the city, like all the little Easter eggs, the villains and stuff. Just the story. It's a really really good game.
I will say that game is fantastic, and it's funny. My son also, when he was born and super young, few months, he loved watching Spider-Man stuff and the Flash, and I think it's because, like you said, of the colors. So that's really interesting to hear somebody else say that. But going back to what you were just saying about how good the game is, like absolutely, that game is fantastic. And the only complaint that I have with the Spider-Man game is when they re-released it after the Miles Morales game came out, and they changed the character model for Peter, and they made it look more like Tom Holland.
Yeah, I kind of noticed that.
I don't really like that.
Gotcha.
I got really used to the original character model, and his voice matched that character model perfectly. And then once you go through all those missions with this version of Peter, and you've got all these upgrades with this version of Peter, and the way that he sounds and the way that he looks, it's like perfect. And then they just like inject Tom Holland over that without Tom Holland's voice, and then it's a little weird. So that part of the game I didn't really like, but other than that, the gameplay is perfect. If you liked any of the Batman Arkham games, then like by default you love this Spider-Man game.
Oh,
it's
for
like
sure.
the same feel. Yeah, so it's like the same feel. You're just Spider-Man. So like instead of just beating guys up and like I love Batman, but instead of just beating guys up and like hiding for their guns to go away or for you to get rid of their guns some kind of way, you're Spider-Man. So you like can dodge bullets and can web them up and crawl on the walls and do all these things, so it's a little bit more fantastical. And Spider-Man is just one of those characters that lends himself to you can fully embrace yourself in him when you're playing a game, when you're swinging across the city, and when you're fighting bad guys, when you're chasing cars, that kind of thing. It's just fun, man. It's just 100% pure fun.
Oh, absolutely. We're talking about Spider-Man. One of the things we've been watching, it's kind of like our morning ritual after I finish streaming for the day. We've been watching the 1994 Spider-Man cartoon. And I forgot.
The animated series?
Yes. I really like it. He loves it. We'll sit there and like, I know he probably like understands nothing I'm saying because he's only 3 months old, but we'll talk about like what characters are on and what's Spider-Man going to do and all this. We'll talk about the episode, me and him, and he'll just stare at me and stare at the TV and like engrossed in it. And I forgot like how many cameos are actually in that show because I watched it as a kid. But there's so many Marvel people that's in the show, from like Iron Man to Punisher, Daredevil, like anybody and everybody. I'm just kind of X-Men have a cameo, like I think it's an episode with just them and him.
Yeah, that's a 2-part episode. Yeah,
it's really cool though. It's really good. I'm not sure what we're gonna watch next because I think we're on the final season, so we may find. I don't think I've ever watched Spider-Man Unlimited. We may check that out. I think that's what it's called. Or we may go to the old X-Men or maybe even Batman the animated series. But we're gonna bounce around and watch all that stuff, all the stuff I grew up on as a kid, and he seems to be enjoying it right now, and it keeps him happy. So nice little bonding experience. But with that being said, what have you been watching lately?
Oh man, watching. So, for those of you who don't know me, I'm really big into anime and manga. So I've been watching this new anime called Ranking of Kings, and I gotta say, man, like I recommend this to everybody. The main character of this anime, his name is Boji, and Boji is a prince to a king who is also a giant, like James and the Giant Beanstalk type giant. And Boji has no physical strength whatsoever. So he's the weakest person in the world, but he's tiny. He's really small. This guy's like, I don't know, 3 feet tall maybe, and he can't speak. He's deaf and he's mute, so he can't speak. But he can read people's lips really well. So that's how he communicates. He can kind of listen to people. He just kind of makes noises and nods and stuff. But the way that they take care of this in the anime is so nice, and they do sign language in the anime. Uh, but of course, it's an anime, and there's always fantastical elements, and I don't want to ruin this for anybody. But what I can say about Ranking of Kings is it is very wholesome. It's very colorful. It's very bright, but it's also pretty brutal as well. And the time period for this show is kind of in the same vein as like Game of Thrones and stuff like that. It's not as stabby as Game of Thrones, but definitely you will see some characters get expired, shall we say. But what I can say about that show, the reason why I'm ranking it so high, the reason why I want to talk about it is because I don't usually get emotionally attached to characters in anime, unless it's just really good. And this just happens to be one of those shows that's really good. I have legitimately cried like 3 times watching the show, and it doesn't make any sense. Like, I didn't even realize I was crying until the episode was over, and I was like, oh, why does my face feel weird? And I've wiped my face, I'm just wiping tears away. Like, it's insane. So absolutely recommend that show. It's for everyone, and if you need a place, I recommend hopping on Crunchyroll and checking it out. At least the first episode, that's all you need, and you'll be hooked, I promise you.
Okay.
And then aside from that, I've been watching stuff that we've all been watching, we got the season finale of Peacemaker recently. I definitely watched that. We got the season finale of Book of Boba Fett recently. Been watching that. I've been watching Dexter, New Blood, and I don't know how you feel about that show, but I have some thoughts. So kind of want to.
Do you want to start with that one out of the shows you just listed? Because I've actually watched all of them.
Let's start with New Blood. Let's start with New Blood for sure.
Oh God. Before we do that, I'm going to take another sip of this beverage. I probably should have told you guys what I was sipping on beforehand, before we get into Dexter, because I am a huge Dexter fan, so might need to take a little sip in my little universal cup. Those that are watching on YouTube, you can see. But I'm actually drinking, it's a beverage called Hey Girl Hey that I found yesterday. It's in a pretty sweet can, but it's made by Old Black Bear, and they're out of Madison, I believe. Madison, Alabama.
That's awesome.
I've actually been. It's not their brewery, but it's like a little. I don't know what you call it. It may be kind of like their brewery, but they make food there, not kind of like a pub, but you can buy some of their products there. You can go eat. You can sample some of the drinks. It's like some little game tables and stuff. But I went with some friends, and we had a brunch there one Sunday, and had tried a few drinks and stuff, and the food was excellent. But this is it's an ale brewed with blackberry and a little bit of lime, like key lime in it. Ooh. And it's super tasty. It's kind of a sour. If you're a sour fan, I highly recommend checking it out. But that's what I'm sipping on. We'll take a sip, and then let's talk about some Dexter, shall we? That's a tasty beverage. Not sponsored, we got to make sure we put that out there. But Dexter, man, I don't know where to start. Favorite seasons of Dexter are 1 and 4 by far. Well, I mean, the show's been out so long at this point, it's not really spoilers. Season 1 had Ice Truck Killer, and season 4 had the Trinity Killer, and I loved both those seasons so much. The ending of Dexter was
like the original ending. Or
yes,
this new ending?
the one that was years back. Unsatisfying. I mean, to an extent, if you've watched the show, there's only a couple ways that it can really end, truthfully, for Dexter. So I mean, I wasn't really satisfied with it, but I didn't like how they did certain characters, Deb and stuff like that. Honestly, I feel like Deb got shit on the entire show, the entire series. Like, she was such a fun character, and she had progression and stuff, but it's just like one bad thing after another with her, pretty much. Like, she would love somebody, and then they would get killed. Yeah. New Blood brought back the original writers, I think. I think it was the original writers from the first 4 seasons. I could be wrong on that. I did really like New Blood. Warning, there's spoilers, so you may want to fast forward a little bit in the podcast. I thought bringing Harrison back in a very early fashion in the show was good, and I really like that element because I already kind of expected Harrison would be there based off how Dexter left off, and that's pretty much the only thing he has left at this point. I think the vision of Deb was really cool. Also very creepy, which I liked, him being haunted. And it's like an interesting dynamic, a serial killer with remorse being haunted by, a mistake he made that's constantly like talking to him. I believe he hadn't killed in 10 years when the show started. I think they said it was 10 years.
Yeah, 10 years.
I liked it. And honestly, I don't really have any complaints with it. I think it's a much, much, much better ending than what they originally had. And I think it could even set up, if they ever wanted to, a spinoff series with Harrison. Because, obviously he has the same issues and dark passenger that Dexter deals with. And he's already, looks like he's well on his way to being advanced, kind of like Dexter. Like, the stuff he does even before he knows what Dexter really is. You can see he's already picking up things. He knows how to do certain things, kind of cover tracks and stuff like that. One thing I was really curious about in the whole show, I wonder if he killed Hannah. They never said anything about it. I know she supposedly died of, I think it was cancer in the show. But for some reason, I always had a gut feeling that maybe he did something to Hannah. But I liked it. I don't know what you think about it. I was happy with it. It was good to see Michael C. Hall back. I know he went through cancer and chemo during some of the seasons of the previous Dexter series. And seeing him kind of come back and really wrap up, I felt like I got closure. The closure I really needed for the show out of it. Not sure what you thought. Apparently Christian was not very much into it. But yeah, so it brought back, let's see. Let's check out some stuff. But just concluded, it was on Showtime. Michael C. Hall come back. Harrison was played by Jack Alcott. I think I said it right. It was good to see Jennifer Carpenter back as Deborah. A lot of interesting storylines here. If you've watched any of the Dexter show, you know that there's usually another killer, another predator out there. So we had that one, that aspect for sure. I thought it was really good, though. I did like it. I was very happy with it. It was a show I was very nervous going into, especially with the final season, how they did that previously. But I thought Clyde Phillips and the rest of the writers and stuff did a really good job kind of tying up those loose ends, tying up like the way they ended the previous one, and wrapping it up for good. I think we might have actually had technical difficulties. Stuff that happens during a podcast, especially on the first episode, this is to be expected. So apologies in advance. Obviously, our layout, if you're watching on YouTube, is very basic and very new. It will get better as we go, as will everything, kind of feeling it out and experimenting and working on things as we go. That's one of the things that's been a hitch for the podcast. We've been dragging our feet, waiting on certain things to get done when we probably should have just started recording and started building. But we decided just to go for it. Enough stalling, and we'll kind of improve things as we go. So just bear with us. But we'll get everything better. And technical difficulties happen. I'm not sure. I guess when Christian's here, he'll chime back in. But until he's here, we'll keep rolling along. But yeah, I was happy with it. I know the final season of Dexter before New Blood received so much scrutiny. People were just unhappy, and rightfully so. I mean, you get attached to this, and if you've watched the show, he's either going to end up in prison eventually one day, or he's going to end up dead. I mean, there's really no happy medium. He's not just going to quit killing and go, because there'll always be that, has he started back? Can he control it? He hasn't controlled it all these years. And the way they kind of just ended it and just left everything was unsatisfying for sure. So
Absolutely.
New Blood did a great job of wrapping it up, and I was very happy with what they did. And I think we have Christian back, so
Yeah,
Think
can
you're
you?
good?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
back in here.
All right.
I was actually here the whole time. My my mic was just like, "Hey, I'm tired of working,"
Oh no.
but I'm gonna jump right in. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
go
jump
for it.
right in because I have some thoughts about New Blood. So I'm gonna start off by saying the first episode of New Blood was fantastic. I loved everything about it. I love how it started. I love the camera angles. I love all the nods to the original seasons. I love the ending of the episode. Um, that being said, I remember you just said that you got closure on the end of New Blood, and boy, I got to tell you, I did not.
What?
Um, I was so mad throughout the duration of the season because as far as I'm concerned, they made this last season of Dexter and all the loose ends that they kind of left open. They're not going to do anything with, and like that's subject to change based off how popular the show is and how much money it makes. Like we all know, money talks, so I get that. But Dexter only felt like Dexter like twice to me in this entire season. He was just so dumb to me. I don't understand. Like I know that it had been 10 years since he last killed, but like it wasn't 10 years since he last read a book or remembered how to do this stuff. You know what I mean? Like there were just several moments in the show where I was just like, why would Dexter ever do this?
Well, he's
So
rusty too. You gotta think. I mean, he killed on a frequent basis in the other show, and then he hasn't done it for 10 years, so he's kind of
that's
off his
true.
game. And he also,
That's
if you
true.
remember in the last season before, is it season 8? I think was the final season before New Blood or something like that. I can't remember if it was 7 or 8 seasons they had previously, but
I think it was 8.
8. Okay. He there comes a point where he's like, I don't need to kill. Like he's starting to suppress the urge a little bit. And I think he just was out of that mindset. He was more in like, I'm camouflaged. I'm not hurting anybody. I've literally ruined everything around me. Like everything I love is essentially dying. So I'm just kind of like, he's on autopilot. And I think he's just rusty. But so how would you have liked it to end?
All right. So I've been thinking about that for weeks. And before I tell you how I wanted it to end, let me tell you my main issue with the show. Aside from dumb Dexter is what I've been calling him. Uh, I can't stand Harrison. I hate him. I hate him
Wow.
so much. I hate him so much. And let me tell you why. Like, at first, it was like, I get why he's so angsty and, like, pissed off at Dexter because Dexter is, like, the worst parent. Like, I totally get that. I get it. But after a while, there's no growth with this character. And you already know going into the show that Harrison also has a dark passenger. And Dexter could easily just have a conversation with Harrison, and Harrison can also easily just have a conversation with Dexter to let him know, like, hey, this is what's happening to me. This is what I'm feeling. I want to hurt people, blah, blah, blah. There you go, conversation. Then you have Dexter talking to Harrison about this dark passenger, how to control it, how to navigate it, how to do this, how to do that. But that never happens. You just get Harrison going to school and like beating up kids and breaking their arms or whatever during wrestling matches, and then like not killing but almost killing a kid who was gonna shoot people, which I get. So that was
Uh,
cool, but like the way that they handle this stuff, dude, I couldn't let it go. And Harrison like immediately was just like all in for Clancy Brown's character. I can't even think of his name right now.
Kurt
Uh,
Caldwell.
Yeah, like I really liked the Kirk character. I thought that his like trophy section was awesome. I
That
thought
was
that
the
the reveal
creepiest
for that was
one
awesome.
yet, I think.
Yeah, and I loved how the one girl tried to play him and make it like a sexual thing, and he was like, "No, that's not what this is about." Like I love all of that. That was so cool. So like Clancy Brown as Kirk, dude, he killed it. He killed it. 100% killed it. I loved everything about it. But like I just couldn't get over Dexter just being stupid. But and this is the other thing. This is the other thing I wanted to get into. Aside from Harrison just really irritating me, I can't believe that I can't believe that what was her name? Angela, his
Yes.
girlfriend?
Yeah, the cop.
Dude, she's like a better detective than Batman, dude. She just figured out everything by hopping on Google. She just learned
Yeah,
everything.
she was on top of things. I think the Angel Batista cameo was really nice too, bringing him back.
So I thought that the Angel Batista cameo was good until the end of that one episode. The episode he shows up in, the end of the episode ruined it for me because he goes, "Yeah, that we had that guy. What was his name? Dexter. Yeah, he did this. Dexter Morgan. Blah blah blah. And he had a son. Oh man, what was his name? Oh, his name was Harrison. Like,
Yeah.
no, that's not how Angel would talk. Angel was best friends with Dexter. At least he thought he was. He loved Harrison. He tried to take care of Harrison, but he just happened to forget his name. Are you kidding me? No, I just wasn't buying that, dude. I just wasn't buying it at all. And it bothered me the whole season, dude. And then Angela just quickly figuring out everything about Dexter because she opened one case file, did one Google report, and literally listened to a podcast and figured out everything about him. No, I'm not buying it, dude. I'm not buying that. And then Dexter just making all of these mistakes, that was really irritating. Like the first couple of mistakes, I totally get it. Totally understand. But like once you get into the season and you start getting past like episode 5, this guy's still making mistakes. I couldn't deal with it. And then Harrison's like he's a turncoat, dude. Like he was all for it with Dexter, and then he's like, "Oh wait, but Dad, you killed that guy. He was nice." And I'm just like, "Dude, he was locked up. He was going down. He's freaking out. Like, chill out." And then so he kills Dexter, but then like the way that Dexter went out wasn't a problem for me. I totally expect him to.
I mean, it's
to not
poetic
make
for
it.
Harrison to take out Dexter. Out of everybody or any way for him to go, his own son to take down the monster, and Dexter pretty much just accepted, like, you got to do this. I broke the code. This is what you need to live by. Do what you got to do.
But here's the problem though. Here's the problem with that. As a parent, right? Like let's just say for the sake of argument, your son, little baby Sin, he's the same as you. You're a serial killer. He's got the same instincts, but he hasn't killed anyone yet. He hasn't actually killed anyone yet, at least to our knowledge. So he's still kind of clean in that aspect, that he hasn't taken a life of somebody. And then you're like, "Hey, little baby Sin, you got to kill me, bro. Shoot me in my heart, take me out, and then live the rest of your life as a normal person. There's no way in hell that you'll be scarred for this for life. Way that your dark passenger will get the taste for the blood that you just shed of mine. There's no way this is going to come back to bite you in the ass. It's totally fine. Just kill me, dog. It'll take care of everything." No! Dexter just ruined his son. Like, everything that he said he didn't want to do, he did it by saying, "Harrison, you can kill me, bro. It's fine. I broke the code." Oh my God, that bothered me so much. I just wasn't down with it. I thought that I knew where the season was going, and then it didn't go that way. And I was like, that's fine. But then Dexter is like, dumb Dexter, then he's super rusty, and then all of a sudden he seems like he's on top of it, then he's teaching Harrison about it, but then Harrison's not really into it, but then he is, because he's killing a guy that he wanted to die. And then you got this other thing going on with Kirk, and he's crazy, and he's like this one of the coolest villains that Dexter's had, minus the ice truck killer, because I think the ice truck killer was one of my favorites as well. But I just there was just so many little holes in this story that I just couldn't let go, and it really bothered me. So that's where I stand on Dexter. I think Dexter New Blood could have been the best season aside from season 1 of Dexter that we were ever going to get. But Harrison and his motivations really messed that up for me. Dexter's like clumsiness really messed it up for me. And then Angela just being literal, she couldn't solve the murder of her best friend that she's never forgotten, and then her friend just happens to be well preserved, and he happens to have what was it, her necklace, I want to say,
Yeah.
or bracelet, one of those things, that he happened to have that, and it was the very first thing she found when she got to his like little house of horrors and all that. Like, I just wasn't buying any of that stuff, man. And then the girl with the podcast that got taken out, like, that was just really annoying because she was like way too smart. Like, it bothered me so much. I couldn't let it go. I just could not let it go.
So you know that like Dexter and Harrison kind of talk about why they don't just like, hey, like Dexter always researches everything. Like, that's just,
he didn't in this season.
Well, he did on Harrison. He didn't jump to conclusions. that he's dark. He kind of had a suspicion, but he wanted to make sure. And then he was like, you haven't said anything to anybody because you'll get locked away with these thoughts. And he's like, yes, exactly. So that's why they don't just like come out and be like, hey, Dad, I haven't seen you in 10 years. I have dark thoughts. I mean, you think your dad's going to be like, oh, that's okay. Pat on the head. Here's some pancakes.
That's practically what Dexter did, though, when he actually talked to Harrison. But he didn't even talk
in Harrison's mind, you're not going to just do that. I mean, you don't really... You're not going to share. You're probably not going to share much personal stuff with him in general because you feel betrayed by him. He left you and abandoned.
And why go and find him in the first place? He didn't need to go find Dexter at all.
Well, I don't know.
I know she died, but Harrison didn't need to go and seek Dexter out. And here's the other problem that I had: like when he does find Dexter and he knows who he is and all that stuff, and Dexter tries to blow him off and blah blah blah. Like, if you go to seek out your parent and the first thing that you get from them is, nah, you got the wrong guy, that's not me, blah, 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 and you just stick around anyway, like, what did you expect to gain from this person who treated you like garbage, right? Like, what did you expect to gain? So I'm listening to that, and I'm like, that's when I was on Harrison's side at the beginning. I was on his side because I understood why he was so pissed off. I understood why he's so weird. I understood why he's, just upset. I got it at first, but it keeps going, and Dexter didn't change at all. Or excuse me, Jim didn't change at all.
I like the name too. I'm just gonna throw that out there. Jim Lindsay is kind of a wordplay on I believe the author of the Dexter books is Jeff Lindsay.
Yeah, I think you're right on that.
So I like that was a little kind of like play on it for who Dexter's alias was.
Yeah, I like it. Just really got me. Like, those things just really irked me because, and here's the thing. Like, I get it. Like, the irony of what I'm about to say, I totally understand. But in comic books, when you have superheroes or whatever fight each other, like when Batman fights Superman, right? Most of the time, the only reason why they're fighting to begin with is because they didn't have a conversation. So I get it. And I'm saying the same thing about this. Harrison and Dexter just needed to have a conversation. But the problem for me is Harrison absolutely got nothing from Dexter the entire season. You watch if you go back and watch every single episode.
Right? I mean, he has the code now. I mean,
he has okay, sure. So he got the code from Dexter. But do you really think him getting a code from a guy that he was friends with for the equivalent of 24, maybe 48 hours, you think Harrison's going to follow that code like Dexter did to the T? I highly doubt it. Harrison is way too emotional. He is everything that Dexter didn't want to be. He's emotional. He's impulsive. He doesn't think things through. He starts a plan and then immediately executes it and just thinks that he's untouchable because of that. But can you imagine Harrison in 10 years when he's a grown-ass man and he's trying to manipulate people the way that he did when he was a kid? It will not work. He will get found out. He will get killed. He will get thrown in jail, what have you. I just don't see him being the type of killer, I guess, that his dad was. And I mean, I don't really need to see that. I don't need Harrison to have a season. I don't need Harrison to be a better killer. I don't need Harrison at all. He just didn't really add anything in the way of the closure that I wanted to get from Dexter. I didn't think that the season should end with Dexter getting away, just because they said that this is going to be it for Dexter. This is totally done. And Michael C. Hall was like, yeah, after this, I'm done. So I got that part. I knew that he wasn't going to make it. But like, if you go back and watch again the last episode, Harrison turns on Dexter so fast, dude. And I was just like, are you kidding me? And then also another thing I just thought about, Dexter couldn't put together that Angela was not only onto him, but just didn't care about him or the relationship anymore. Like, he comes over for Christmas and he's trying to like kiss her and she's like turning away and all that, and he's just not catching it. Like, what? I know that he's trying to keep the facade going, but he should have taken Harrison and they should have been gone as soon as he saw that she wasn't feeling any of that stuff. Like, he should have been gone, dude. I just don't get it. it just bothers me, dude. That's the thing about Dexter New Blood. Like, I think that it started amazingly, and then it just kind of, they needed to end it, so they just did. That's what it felt like. They needed to end the show. They had 10 episodes, and they used like 7 episodes setting everything up, and then you get like the last 3 episodes of like the actual story. Because when I want to say in episode 8, that's the episode where Dexter apes, right, and then Kirk confesses his plans, or lets Dexter know that he knows that he killed his son or whatever. So you get all that going on, and then Dexter opens up to Harrison at that point about the Dark Passenger, and then Harrison opens up too. So like episode 8 is when you get any kind of like story, right? Because everything else is just build up, right? And don't get me wrong, I love the build up for Kirk. I love it. But for Dexter and for Harrison, you literally don't get anything from them until 8 episodes in. And it's at the end of those 8 episodes. So that's what bothers me. I have to wait 8 episodes, 8 hours of this story to get something that I should have gotten in episode 4, maybe. That would have made it better. But I think episode 4 is the episode. Harrison's like the hero, right? For, taking that dude out or whatever. So I don't know, man. Like there was a lot of good things that happened in New Blood. I thought where Dexter was, where Jim was, it was great. He got a new girlfriend, chief of police. She looks just like his now deceased sister, who is haunting him, which was a little creepy, and they never bring it up. So that was also very weird. But the actress like purposefully looks just like Deb, dude. What's her name? I want to say the actress's name is Julia Jones. I want to say.
Yes.
Yeah. So Angela looks just like Deb. She looks just like Jennifer Carpenter, but they never speak on that. Dexter never talks about it in his head. He never talks about it with Deb's ghost or whatever. Like, I fully expected that to be a conversation. And like, I really did enjoy that Deb was in his head like that, but she was just so violent and aggressive, unlike...
She was the opposite of Harry. Harry was always a calming presence that was just level-headed, and I mean, rightfully so. Deb kind of got screwed over because of Dexter. She suffered for Dexter's actions, so of course she's gonna be kind of mad at him. She was kind of in a downward spiral into the other series.
Yeah, and I know, like, I wrote that off early because I was like, well, it's in his head and he feels guilty, and this is how he thinks Deb would react. She would be this upset and blah, blah, blah. But, like, we never saw Harry able to physically touch Dexter, but Deb was, like, beating the shit out of him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was like, is his guilt so bad to where he's, like, hurting himself at certain points, but it's in his head as Deb? Like, but they never explain that, so you just have to take it on a leap of faith, I guess, and put the pieces together yourself, which can be cool for certain things, but not for this. And the reason why I say it's not cool for this is because, for all intents and purposes, New Blood is the last bit of Dexter we're ever going to get. Yeah. And I didn't get the closure that I was hoping to get. Like, honestly, if it weren't for a couple of the things that happened in these episodes, if it weren't for Kirk being a dope villain, I would almost say I don't even need this season. I will say this season is better than season 8.
That's what I was going to ask. Do you like this ending it better than 8, or would you have rather just kept 8 and that been it? So,
as a fan of Dexter, I don't think anybody would want to just keep season 8 as the final. And there are things that happen in season 8 that I like, but there are just so many things that happen in season 8 that I thought shouldn't happen. Most of that stuff being with like Deb and all that, and like how Dexter gets away. Also, like, I love when the villain gets away. I love that kind of stuff. But in this case, I think this one is better because it's final, and that's really it. But with that said, I like this better only because I really like the villain. You know, I like I like Kirk so much that I'll let this one go. But if it weren't for Kirk, absolutely, I would rather just have season 8. Wow. And that's just how I feel. Like I said, I don't think that this season is trash. And I know I've been on it a lot, but I don't think it's garbage. I just don't think that the ending was earned. I don't think that Harrison was a good character. I don't think that. Um, I know there are a lot of people who really want to see a season with Harrison later, but I really don't. Like, I just want it done. They screwed Dexter so bad in season 8, and then in this one, like he was just so stupid in this season for me that I'm glad that he's dead because nobody else can write him into a corner. He's done. So I'm glad that he's done because nobody else can mess with him anymore. But I really don't want to see anything with Harrison. Like, in my head canon, Harrison made a couple of mistakes and just literally got killed immediately. Like, and nobody cares. That's just how it is for me in my own head because I just don't like him as a character. He's really annoying to me. And I know that he's a kid. I know that he's got a lot of problems. I know he's really messed up in the head in general. But, like, I think Dexter did him a disservice. I think him going to seek Dexter out was the worst decision he could have made in his life.
Wow.
But that's me. That's my 2 cents.
Hot take.
I probably talked for forever about it, but I'm finally done now. I think that the season was fine, but did I get closure from it? Absolutely not.
Wow. Okay. One thing I will say that I'm curious about is how the on-screen chemistry was with Michael C. Hall and Jennifer Carpenter, because they were actually married at some point during Dexter, but I think they divorced before the show was over. So I'm curious, like, how they did working together again after all these years, and if it was like awkward or if it was fine, or, you know, was there any like hostility? Because I don't really know how the relationship ended. I just know that I'm pretty sure, like, got married during Dexter, and then I think they divorced before Dexter even ended, or maybe shortly after.
Yeah, I think they got divorced. I think they got divorced before the last couple of seasons. I might be wrong on that, and I should probably look it up. But they were absolutely divorced before this was shot for sure. They were divorced before the ending of.
Yeah, they have been divorced for years. But I'm just curious, like, how it went on screen, bringing them back together, like, in this. Because, I mean, they work closely together. It's not like, it's not like a love scene or anything, but they're in close space together, like, with her being in his head and, like, in his face about stuff. It'd be interesting to hear, like, how they felt about it.
Yeah, hasn't he? He's been married like twice, right?
I think so. He does music also. I've been sent stuff. He does like an indie sounding project. It's not bad actually, but he's like a singer.
You want to hear some really cool, like, I want to inject like a couple of like really cool facts about Michael C. Hall, like, for me. And there are 2 things that he did that I really, really like that are outside of the realm of Dexter. One of them is he was the voice of Batman, Kirk Langstrom Batman, in the animated movie Justice League: Gods and Monsters. I don't know if you ever saw that, but
really,
he was the voice of essentially Vampire Batman, and it was really cool. It was really well done, and I would love to see more of that version of Batman. It was really cool. So just imagine, you know, the character Man Bat, right?
Yes.
Okay, so imagine Man Bat, but instead of turning into a giant bat, he turns into a vampire, and there's no Batman in this world, so he becomes Batman. That's essentially what happened. So I really, really enjoyed that. I thought that was really cool. His voice is just so monotone anyway, but it worked for a character like Batman, so I loved that. And the other thing that he did that I really liked is he lent his voice again in an audiobook that I listened to not too long ago of one of my favorite books, and that's Pet Sematary.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he did the audio for Pet Sematary, and it's fantastic.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, just thought I'd
nice
end that on a high
there.
note.
So Christian did not really care for New Blood.
Did not.
Cue the fail music. Okay, so wow, we've already almost been going for an hour. Let's move it along. What do you want to talk about next? What show or what are you feeling?
So I'll make these kind of a lot faster. I will say so.
Or we can always condense, and we could add some next week. For those that are curious, the plan right now for the podcast is to be a weekly episodic show. So we'll be recording weekly and going over different topics. As of right now, it may eventually go to bi-weekly. We'll see how the schedule goes because things can get hectic, but that is the game plan currently. So whatever we don't cover this week, we can cover next week.
I do want to quickly touch on one other show and two movies, if I may, and
Okay.
we'll see how it goes.
All right.
But the show that I wanted to talk about is Peacemaker.
Okay.
I don't know if you've watched Peacemaker, but
Yes.
I watched it and it's fantastic.
Oh, it's wonderful.
I would give that show in its entirety. I would give it a perfect 10 out of 10. I think that John Cena really
One thing
brought
before
his
you go
A
into
game.
depth, I will say it has the best intro out there right now. I absolutely love uh, the song and the choreographed dance they have John Cena and the cast do. It is fantastic, and I love it.
Yeah, dude.
And my son
Wing
loves
Wham,
it.
dude.
He likes to do it. We do a little dance with him during it. He loves it.
It's so good, dude. Wing Wham, that's not even a band that I was like,
No, I wasn't
that was
aware
in the
of him.
zeitgeist. Like, I've heard that song before, but like, I didn't remember it. And then this came out, and I was like, oh my God, it's that one song. And it's pretty good. The song is great. The intro is fantastic. It's like the best intro for a show that I've seen probably ever, to be honest.
Absolutely, I love it.
Mine is like there are shows that have fire intros, but most of them are like shows that I love because of nostalgia. So like Batman the Animated Series had a fire intro. The old OG '90s Power Rangers had a fire intro. This has a fire intro. I love it, dude. It's so good. But I just wanted to say, like, I loved John Cena acts in this show. Like, of course, he plays like a douchey Captain America type character. I love that. And that's not how Peacemaker is in the comics, because in the comics, he's like a serious character and he doesn't really make these jokes. But the way James Gunn wrote him was perfect. The way John Cena portrayed him was perfect. Vigilante
also,
is another one of those
Those
characters.
that don't know who James Gunn is, I believe that's the guy that did Guardians of the Galaxy, correct? And the new
That's
Suicide
right.
Squad.
That's right.
Yeah. And he has a certain style, and you can definitely tell in this show, and I like it. And the music's one thing. I think he loves to have like really good music in there, like good scores and songs. Like he goes like more kind of old schoolish sounding songs, mostly like 80s, 70s. And I really dig it personally. But I like his style, and I like his writing and stuff too.
Apparently, he has a affinity for hair metal, so that's why there's so much hair metal in the show.
Yeah.
But like, I love it. And then like Peacemaker, I'm sorry, not Peacemaker, but Vigilante in the show was hilarious, dude. He's my favorite character by far.
Same.
Every time
Vigilante and then Peacemaker would be my character list for sure.
So it's really funny because my character list for top 3 favorite characters in the show, it would be Vigilante, then Myrn,
Really?
and then Peacemaker.
Why is Myrn so high?
Myrn is so high because I don't know if here's the thing. I think the actor that plays Myrn, and I do not know how to pronounce his name, so I'm not going to hurt my feelings or his feelings.
No,
if you
I
potentially
can't. I can't help you. It's up on the screen right now, and I'm not even going to attempt that. Yeah.
But that actor played this character so well because he played everything so straight.
Yes.
Every time he gets pissed off in this show, every single time he gets pissed off, I was cracking up, dude. I was laughing so hard I had to rewind the show to go back and see what was said because I couldn't hear anything. I was laughing so hard. And that's when you know you got a banger right there, like with the writing and the way that the actors are doing it. But like there's a scene where Myrn is getting cussed out by Peacemaker because Peacemaker finds out that his dad's in prison.
Oh, yeah.
And it's because like when John Economos, right? Economos sends his dad to jail instead of literally anybody else. And after Peacemaker like goes off the rails and blows up all over Myrn just stares at Economos, and Economos is like freaking out and he doesn't want to look at him. And then they do a close up of Myrn and he's just like, "F you, I hate you." And he doesn't even say it; he just mouths it, and it's perfect, dude. Like stuff like that. I love that character, and I won't even like speak on the what happens to these characters just in case you guys haven't seen it because it's fairly new. But the last episode, there is a fantastic cameo that I'm not going to spoil.
Oh my god, dude! I was shocked by that. Actually, we were legitimately shocked. I was like, "Wait, what? Really? Like they pulled this off? Like that's wonderful."
I love that. It was funny. It was just long enough. What was said was perfect. Like this season of Peacemaker was so good. Like when the last episode came on, I didn't even want to watch it. Like I told my partner, I was like, "Hey, babe, I don't even want to watch this because I'm afraid like they won't do more, and then it's over.
Well, I'm
And then
pretty
I
sure
saw
they
the
greenlit
announcement.
it before the final episode, even like before they released it, like when it was coming out or whatever. They were like, "Oh, season two's already greenlit. We're doing a second one."
Yeah, I didn't see that announcement until a little bit later. So as soon as I saw that announcement, I was like, okay, let's watch it. Let's go. I'm down. Let's do it. And it was perfect, dude. I loved it. So that's what I got to say about Peacemaker.
So I want to touch on
There was,
Vigilante before we move. Vigilante
yeah,
is hilarious. I know. So I was trying to do some research on him. I don't think he's anything like he is in the comics, really.
nothing like he is in the
But
comics.
what they've made in an abbreviated version that is hopefully not gonna ruin the show, I don't think it will. He is like DC's version of Deadpool right now.
Yeah,
And I even have some
absolutely.
theories. We may go into that later. Maybe we'll do that next episode. We'll go into more theories and kind of give a little more time so we don't ruin anything. And I wouldn't mind bouncing theories off of you, but I kind of think, just think he's kind of like Deadpool, but maybe a less, I don't want to say intelligent, but
Oh, that's the word.
because he's not, okay, he's not as sarcastic and quick witted. He's quick, but it's not very witty in times. And you're just
Agreed.
like, what? Like, he'll just say stuff and you're like, how? But it's hilarious. And it's a wonderful character. The actor that plays him did a great job. I actually loved it. Like, that was one of my favorite parts when Vigilante would come on. And him and Cena's interactions are great. Like, they do really well together, just bouncing back and forth and doing things. Great show, though. Fantastic show. I
loved
was
it.
very surprised by how good it was. I thought Cena was funny in Suicide Squad. I was kind of shocked when they announced he was getting a show. I was like, I don't really know where this is going to go, but very pleasantly surprised with it, and I cannot wait for season 2.
I'm gonna talk about that really quick.
Okay.
When you just said that you were surprised that he got a show, I was too. But then I heard that James Gunn was doing it, and all of my suspicions were gone. And it's not because I think James Gunn is like the greatest director ever. It's because he has proven to us so many times that he can take characters in general that nobody knows. Like, of course, like I know a lot, the two main characters and even White Dragon. Like, I know those characters
Yeah.
because I'm a giant DC Comics fan. So yeah, I know them. But like, I'm watching it with my partner, and she doesn't know any of these characters. So I'm just like, you know what? I don't even want to tell you what they're really like because I already know that James Gunn isn't gonna make them like they are in the comics. So just enjoy what he does. And she did, and it was great. So yeah, man, if James Gunn is writing a show about some off kilter third party kind of characters, you already know it's going to be hilarious, and it was. But yeah, dude, I agree with you 100%. When they first announced it, I was like, why is John Cena getting a show about Peacemaker? Peacemaker's not even that cool. His helmet is pretty goofy. But I will say, this is the last thing I'll say about Peacemaker. Vigilante's costume in the comics is very, very simple, and so is Peacemaker's. But damn it, those costumes look amazing on screen. Even his goofy
Yeah.
helmet look great on screen, and I love that he has more than one. Like,
Yeah.
because in the comics he just kind of has like a staple helmet that he uses, and then like depending on the next artist, they might change it just a little bit to make it easier for them to draw. But other than that, dude, he has like the same kind of stuff over and over again. So I loved all of that.
I agree. Why do you think he picked Peacemaker out of all of them? Do you have any theories to do it, or do you just think
So
it's the work with Cena? Or
I think what happened personally is he wrote Peacemaker into the Suicide Squad, and he liked what he wrote, and he liked what John Cena was doing, because like a lot of actors who start off doing something else before they go mainstream, John Cena was a wrestler, right, for WWE for years. And I think people just don't think that that type of person, that type of actor, is going to be good at acting or funny. But he saw John Cena ad-libbing a lot during the Suicide Squad, and they started talking and really getting to know each other. And I think what happened was John Cena impressed him with his comedic chops, and he just kept writing more for the character that wouldn't fit into Suicide Squad. So he wrote it into a show that was separate. And DC wants as much of James Gunn's time as they can get thanks to his success for Marvel, because they want that money, right? So they just told him he could do what he wants. and he did.
I agree. I mean, and wrestlers, good ones like that, like Cena, they're to do what they do in the ring, promos and stuff like that. They have to be quick witted and kind of like ad lib and go. So I mean, it kind of plays into his strength. I will say I would love to see DC do more of this kind of stuff with series that tie their universe together, and bring kind of everybody and kind of like solidify a cast for their universe and not have so much revolving doors. But that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day, because I'm sure we can go down a rabbit hole and discuss a ton of DC stuff and things we'd like to see and things they've done wrong and stuff like that. Because I'm like you, I'm a big DC fan. I enjoy DC a lot, and my favorite comic is Batman by far. I love that stuff, and yeah,
As you should. It's great. I will say, like, that's really funny that you say that, because that leads me into my next topic, which is new shows coming out. And one of the new shows coming out is actually a spin-off show from the Batman movie that is, at the time of this recording, is coming out next week. So that show is a new Gotham show. And not Gotham like you saw for like Fox that they did with like younger Bruce Wayne before he's Batman. It's not that. This one is a show that revolves around Gordon and the GCPD before Batman shows up in the main story, and then even after he shows up. So it's more so about the Penguin and Carmine Falcone and stuff like that. So we're supposed to be getting that show coming up. They're working on it right now. And like I said, it takes place like in the Batman 2022 world, but
question about that.
Batman.
So you said Penguin is in it. Does that mean that Colin Farrell's reprising the role in this show?
That is correct.
Interesting. Also, may I say, the missus loves Colin Farrell, and I kept showing her pictures when they've done the trailers of the Penguin, and she's like, "That's not him." I'm like, "Yes, it is."
Yeah, it totally is.
She is like blown away. She's like, "It doesn't look like it." Man, I guess she just likes his looks, but she's just like, "I don't know about that." And I'm like, I'm interested, because they completely have changed his appearance, and I'm very excited for the new Batman. And this is coming from someone that is not. I don't care for Twilight. I don't care for that style of vampire. And Robert Pattinson I can't say he's a bad actor at all. I've watched several things he's done, and he's good. I was very on the fence, but I tried to keep an open mind. And when I saw the first Batman trailer with the Vengeance quote and all that stuff, I'm excited. I think I have high hopes for this movie. And I'm sure, again, we'll talk about that at a later podcast, because it releases next Friday, Thursday night Friday, right? As the time of recording this.
I got my tickets. I'm ready to go see that movie next Thursday. I'll see that next Thursday. At the time of this recording, it'll be Thursday.
When does that show come out that you were talking about?
That probably won't come out until next year.
Okay. That'll be interesting, though. Do you know what it's releasing on? Is it going to be like an HBO
Max?
It will be on HBO Max? Okay, interesting. HBO Max has been putting out some really good shows, so that's good.
Yeah, man, they got some stuff. They got the Batgirl show coming out that I'll speak on a different podcast, because that's a whole thing. But they got quite a few things that they're working on. Okay. Not all of them good, but they're working on some things for sure.
Which they have, I'm pretty sure they have rights to DC, correct? Because I know there's a lot of the animated shows and then various DC movies.
Warner Brothers is DC, so yeah, they got the rights to pretty much all that.
I would love to see more. I mean, I don't know. Another thing that we could go down a rabbit hole on, I'm going to avoid because I know we'll both start on it. I really want DC to do certain things different, because the Snyder Cut is one thing. I would love more stuff like the Snyder Cut.
Dude, Snyder Cut was fantastic. My favorite movie last year.
Like, oh my God. Okay, I'm not going down. We're not starting that. Oh my God. All right.
You guys hit us up on our socials and we'll talk about that all day.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So what else was on your agenda of list to discuss for today?
I got two more things until I'm done. Before, however, I go into those two things, you were talking about seeing Robert Pattinson in other films and all that.
Yes.
If you haven't seen a movie called Good Time, I highly recommend you seek that out.
I have not seen Good Time. I literally thought you were going to say like The Lighthouse with him and William Dafoe, which is a weird movie. I will say that. Yeah. Like,
that is definitely what the kids are calling elevated horror these days.
Yeah. So Good Time? Good Time?
Yeah, Good Time.
Good Time.
Good
Okay.
Time. The movie is just called Good Time.
Okay.
It's the best. It's the best movie I think he's done up until probably the Batman, and then obviously I'm sure you've seen Tenet. That was great as well.
Yes, I've seen Tenet. Mrs. doesn't like movies like that. She doesn't stuff that makes you think, and you're gonna have to usually rewatch to like find things that you may have missed the first time. She's not into that life, sadly. So
Now
that's
I
usually
gotta say, I don't think Tenet is one of the best movies that Christopher Nolan has
no,
done. It's really not. It's pretty, and the story is cool if you understand what's going on,
right?
but absolutely not one of the best.
No,
It's
no, no.
good though. It's good. But to move on to the other stuff, there were the other two to talk about. One being the new Scream movie that we got earlier this year, and then the other being another new horror movie that we got just recently, which is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh boy.
Yeah, which one of those would you personally like to tackle first? Because I do have thoughts.
We can go with Texas Chainsaw. I think so. You mentioned Book of Boba Fett. We can do that next week. If you want. I don't have a lot on Book of Boba Fett, but I have
You
watched
probably
it.
have just as much as I have, which isn't a lot. And I can actually just give you those thoughts really quick.
Okay,
I
we can
think
do Book of Boba real quick,
Fett,
and then we'll do Texas Chainsaw, the new one that
yeah,
actually
let's do
just
that.
released a week ago Friday, I think, as of recording this.
Yeah, that's right. On Netflix.
Netflix, which, okay, yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. I was kind of, I don't know, that kind of made me a little nervous for release of that. But Book of Boba, what do you
All
got?
right. I only got this one thing to say about Book of Boba. Book of Boba is something that was really hyped up for me because I'm a big Star Wars fan as well. And then I watched the first episode and I just didn't care.
Wow.
I just did not care at all. The first episode was so boring, and I just did. The only thing I liked about it was the scene that we got, the flashback of him surviving
Right.
before
Yeah,
we
yeah.
see his character again. But other than that, man, like I just didn't care. Like he wasn't Boba Fett to me. He kept taking his mask or his helmet off. He kept just talking. He was getting his ass kicked by everybody. I just didn't like it.
Okay. I do like it. I like it for what it is. It's pretty much obviously it's a backstory to like, hey, this is what happened to Boba. This is why he was in Mandalorian last season. You know, this was kind of his brief journey, and this is going to tie into Mandalorian season 3. Like, it was kind of like here's a little filler and backstory is essentially what I took it as. I will say I really, really like what they are doing on Disney Plus with the Star Wars series.
I do like
they're
that.
doing Mandalorian and all. I feel like, in my opinion, and I am a Star Wars fan, I think these are better than the movies they've been putting out as of late.
Absolutely, you get more time with the characters.
Exactly.
The writing is better. It's not all about Jedis and lightsabers.
Right.
So I really
and there's a
enjoy
ton
that
of
too.
lore and stuff in the Star Wars universe that's not even touched that they can tackle, between like Clone Wars, the animated stuff, all that. Like, there's a whole bunch of the books. There's a lot of stuff that they can dive in and make shows on. And I think they're starting to tap into that with Obi-Wan coming out and a bunch of others. One thing I did like at Book of Boba was cameos. And since it is relatively new, I'm not going to go into the cameos, but I thought they had some really cool cameos, filling in some characters, bringing back some people, adding and introducing some people. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
I liked it. I get what you're saying. To me, it was a filler because the whole time you're kind of wondering what's Mando doing, and they tie into that, and they kind of bridge to what is going to happen with Mando and stuff moving forward. So I think it was just kind of a brief, backfill.
I'm glad that you said that. I'm really glad that you said. Normally, for shows and movies like this, a cameo enhances because it's a character that that is cameoing. But the cameos in Book of Boba Fett made the show, and that's not how that should be.
Yeah.
But other than that, like I don't really have much else to say. I'm really excited for the rest of what's going to come from Book of Boba Fett and the new Mandalorian season 3 and all that. But like just this standing on its own merits without the cameos isn't as enjoyable as I would like. With that said, though, I'm ready to grind ourselves right into Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
All right, well, rev it up. Let's go. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the new one, which is a Netflix exclusive, an original, I believe, right?
That's right.
Which is weird. I knew they were making a new Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I was pretty shocked when I found out it was just Netflix. And I'm not gonna lie, it kind of ruined a little bit of hype for me because I was like, oh, that's essentially like, I'm a huge Halloween fan. If they'd be like, new Halloween only on Netflix, I'd be like, that's not a good sign. That's not going to theaters. It's not going to like HBO Max or has like a theater and a contract with a streaming service. But I think my quick thoughts on it, for what it is, I thought it was pretty good. It's better than some of the others. Obviously, nothing like, it's going to be very hard for any movie to overtake an original for me. And that goes with like pretty much any horror movie franchise. Like, the originals to me have a special place in my heart. That's what made the franchise. Mm-hmm. There's not a lot of story in this or story development. It's pretty cut and dry, straightforward. Like, hey, this is what happened without going to spoilers. Like, here you go. Here's Leatherface. Chainsaw. Like, but at the same time, I don't think you have to have a crazy story. Do I love a great story, like an in-depth experience? Yes. But I think a lot of horror movies don't really do that because that's not really what they're worried about. Like, if they were to have some crazy, touching thing, people are going to be like, I just want to see Leatherface rev his chainsaw and kill people. You know, I don't think they have to have it. It's not a crazy story. If you're coming for some in-depth thing, no. If you're coming for gruesome kills and, I mean, a pretty solid horror movie, then yeah, I think, you know, it's not the worst thing I've seen by them. I think the one where he's a child was probably my least favorite of the group.
Oh man, that one was trash.
Yeah, so I think The Mask is pretty
I
cool.
don't think that one was my least favorite though, but it's definitely not a good one.
I have questions. There's certain things that during the movie I literally asked out loud, like to my wife. I was like, first off, how's the mask staying on? Because he has this new fancy mask, but I don't see anything to attach to the back. And if you've ever worn a mask, you can't just put something on the front of your face and it stays on while you do crazy activities. I don't see how that worked. Second thing, there is a scene, without going too in depth to ruin like spoilers, where he gets a chainsaw that has been in a wall for however many years, 50 years or whatever it is from the first, I think, because this pretty much, I think it goes from the original Texas Chainsaw to this one. It kind of pulls a Halloween where everything they've done in between is gone. It's literally Texas Chainsaw Massacre, blank space, and then this new one, right? Like, they don't.
Yeah.
And so this is like probably a 50-year-old chainsaw on a wall that just starts. And I was like, I don't think that's how that works. I'm pretty sure like stuff won't just start that was just in a wall. But I mean, stupid things probably nitpick for me, but there was some cool scenes. There was some cool kills, gruesome kills. Yeah. I mean, if you're looking for in-depth story though, obviously not. There's really no like character development or anything. I'm going to be honest. I really didn't care for many of the characters, if any of them. Like, I got to the point by the end of the movie, I was like, let's just get them all. Like, come on, Leatherface. I was literally rooting for Leatherface to like clean house. Like, I'm done with him. Like, let's move on kind of deal. But then again, I kind of do that on some horror movies too, where I'm like, oh yeah, they can just take care of them. They're annoying. Be done. What was your thoughts on it though?
All right. My thoughts are similar to yours, but I didn't have as good of a time with this movie as I thought I would. Now, I didn't go into this movie thinking it was going to be good. I didn't go into this movie thinking that I was going to learn something. I didn't go in thinking that it was going to be a spectacle. I did, however, go into this movie thinking it'll be fun. I'll eat some food while watching this, and I'll enjoy myself. But the nitpicks that you had, like, I'm going to get a little bit more into spoilers, but not full-on spoilers.
Okay.
If you're a fan of the original and you know the Sally character, like...
Was she not a knockoff of Laurie Strode?
Absolutely.
Okay, so
absolutely.
Literally watching it, I'm thinking this is Halloween 2018. They're taking that premise and Michael and Laurie, and they're applying it to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. In my head, I'm like that. She is a less badass Laurie Strode right now, to me.
Okay, hear me out. Hear me out. Imagine if the Halloween 2018 movie came out, but it was made and distributed by Netflix. This is what it would look like.
Yeah, true. And that's not a knock at Netflix. Netflix puts a lot of really good exclusives and a lot of good stuff out there.
They do, but sometimes they don't.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, like, the Sally character was just useless in this movie. She shouldn't have been in the movie at all. You had the Melody character, and I believe her character is the one who survived like a school shooting a while back,
right?
And that's her character mythos, not mythos, but that's her whole character is I'm a survivor of this, and I thought that was really cool. I really thought they were going to use that in the story to do something, to tell a story, and that was like their version of if you have seen Halloween that came out last year. What was it? Halloween Kills. Yes. You've seen Halloween Kills? That was their version of the hospital scene, but it wasn't as intense. Thank God, because the hospital scene is one of my least favorite scenes of Halloween Kills, because I thought it was trash. But that's the story for another day. But they just didn't use her character. The Melody character, they built her up to be this fantastic final girl, and they just didn't really do anything with her. So that was annoying. The reason why Leatherface comes back, I get why he comes back, the main motivation, but how the hell is he even here to begin with? And also,
true,
he has the quietest chainsaw I've ever seen. There are literally scenes in this movie where he'll be right behind somebody and they just magically don't hear him holding a giant GD chainsaw. They don't hear that. And then he just sneaks this person with a chainsaw. Are you kidding me?
One of the things one thing I did like that they did with him is him running. I think that was absolutely terrifying. You have a gigantic man with a chainsaw wearing somebody's face running at you full speed. I'm out. Nope.
100%. I'm not. First of all, I'm not going to be in this town to begin with. That's just recipe for disaster. Especially if you're as dark as I am. You're not. I'm not going to make it. There's no way. But with that said, there were so many things in this movie just to get you to point A to point B, and they don't even try to disguise it, man. They're just hey, here's some characters. Guess what? They're going to get murdered. Guess what? By this guy. Guess how? By this weapon. And guess what? It's happening right now. And you're just killing people. It's crazy, man. It's definitely carnage candy, this movie.
Yes.
And I really enjoy that. But if you're going in to watch this movie and have a good time, maybe not. I want to say as of right now, it has a 4.9 on IMDb. All right, cool. IMDb, whatever. Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 31% right now. I'm all right, cool, whatever. Would I give it that low? I think out of 10, I would probably give this movie a 5, to be honest. Okay. So pretty close to IMDb. And then out of 100%, I would probably give this movie a 50%.
Okay.
And that's because 50% of this movie I was interested because people were getting murdered.
The bus scene, without spoilers, is probably one of the best scenes for me, because it was just absolutely. Yeah, it's just carnage. And it kind of ties into nowadays times, or how things are, and social media and all that. And I thought that was a cool little addition and very brutal.
Yeah, I agree with you on that 100%. That's pretty much all I have for Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022. Okay. I think that we should move into one of our last topics today, and that would be Scream.
All right, Scream 2022.
Now, Scream 2022 was a movie that not only was I excited for, but I was also extremely terrified to go see in theaters. Not because I thought the movie was going to be scary, but because I thought that there was a chance the movie could be garbage. Okay. And I just didn't want that to happen.
And that's fair with these movies getting done over and over and over and over and over again, especially with franchises that you enjoy and you keep up with and you want to watch, but then they kind of just run them into the ground and you don't really get anything good, no good original ideas, no adding to the story, is just kind of cut and paste, kind of simple things over and over again.
Yeah.
So that's
and
fair.
I got to say, Scream, so Scream for me is already something that I hold like near and dear to my heart because that's one of the few horror franchises that I was privileged to grow up with, you know?
Okay.
Like we're of the age where Scream 1 came out and then like pretty soon after that movie came out we could just go and see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Scream the original Scream came out in 96, right? So at that time I wasn't old enough to like go to the theater and see this movie. So I was like 6 years old when this came out. Um but I did get to rent it from Blockbuster several times, and I did get to enjoy the hype for when that was coming out, right? So like all of that happening was really awesome, and I really enjoyed that. That was awesome. I'll never ever forget that experience. And then the third one came out in like 2000, and I was 10, right? So at 2000, like I could sneak into a movie theater and go see it if I wanted to. I didn't do it, you know. I just waited, but still, like it was the turn of a new century at that time. Things were happening, and then like what 11 years later we got Scream 4, so I could go and see that one in theaters and experience that one as well. And then you got this one which should just be called Scream 5, so that's how I'm gonna talk about it for the rest of the time that we're here. But like I'm just gonna call it Scream 5. So Scream 5 was dope. I mean, like I couldn't ask for a better movie. Like they did it right. Ghostface was scary. The kills were way better. They were gruesome. Some of them were. Um, the camera work was really well done. We didn't have that weird, glossy, fake glow that we had on Scream 4 because I hated that, and that almost took me completely out of the movie, to be honest, on my first viewing. But this movie, man, like I'll say for old fans, like it ticks pretty much all the boxes for you. And then for new fans, like it's everything that you need in order to watch a slasher film and to start getting into the slasher habit. Because I think that slasher films are some of the best horror movies that we're going to get. And that's because I love a mask. I love a
Yeah.
killer. I love a group of people that are trying to navigate and survive this thing. That's why I always come back for the Michael Myers and the Leatherfaces and even the Freddys, you know?
Yeah.
Like I come back for that because I love slasher films. I love what they have to offer. There are a lot of bad ones, yeah, but the good ones are really good.
True.
And the only like one of the only gripes that I have with this movie, after seeing it and being able to like digest it, is we have I'm trying to think of what the main character's name is. I think her name was Sam.
Yeah. Samantha.
Melissa Barretta was her name, I want to say. Sam Carpenter, right? I love the last name Carpenter because that's obviously a nod to John Carpenter.
Right.
But I didn't really feel Sam as the final girl. I think that if the movie was her sister Tara as the final girl, then the movie would have been a perfect 10.
Okay.
100%. But because it was Sam as the final girl, she just wasn't as strong as of an actress to me. And I mean, I don't think that the actress is garbage or anything. I just think that there were some beats of the movie, like emotional parts, some through lines that she needed to hit that she just didn't hit, and that really bothered me because it kind of sounded like she was coming straight out of a soap opera, i.e., General Hospital or something like that, and I just wasn't into it.
Isn't that what she's coming from? Isn't that what she's done?
You know what? Actually, I think you're right, and
I think
that makes a whole lot of sense. That makes a whole lot of sense. I'm gonna actually pull her up real quick and just see. And yeah, she did. So she does do stuff like that.
You
She has
brought
a lot
up
of
the Carpenter,
in the Heights.
the Carpenter
That's what I know her from. The
reference.
Heights.
Her being Sam Carpenter, a nod to John Carpenter. I also like the nod to Wes Craven, the creator of Scream, with the guy from 13 Reasons Why. That's how
Dylan Minetti, right?
Yes. Him being named Wes, I thought that was really cool to name a character Wes after Wes Craven. I'm assuming that's what I take it as they named him after, and I really like that.
Absolutely. That he was named Wes for which I'm not going to spoil just in case people haven't seen this movie, which I don't see why you haven't. But there's a scene in the movie that pays off why his name is Wes. And it's during the party scene, right? So we get that. And I think that pays off all of that.
Okay,
and it was great. So that's really cool. I really enjoyed this movie, though. Figuring out who the killers are has always been a thing watching these movies.
Yeah,
but
it's fun.
I figured them out super quick. But that didn't bother me because I'm thinking like, okay, now I'm getting older. I'm like 30, so like of course I'm going to be able to pick out who's who, just because I'm smarter of a person now than I was when I was 6 watching these movies, and then also. It was fine. Like it didn't really bother me that I found them out because like who cares, Like the whole killer reveal scene was pretty good, I think. And like I said, I already knew who the killers were, so when they were revealed, it's like cool. But like the reveal portion of it wasn't the part that made me think, oh, I don't like it. It was their motivation. But after I went home, after seeing that movie in theaters and thought about their motivations, because when I first saw it, I didn't like it. But I started thinking about it, and the more I thought about it, the more I liked it. And it's because, without spoilers, their motivations are so relatable.
Yeah.
Now, would I kill people for their motivation?
No.
Absolutely not.
No.
But I get it. So it just made sense to me, especially with the state of the world now and like how things have evolved. It's not just revenge all the time, so that was really cool. They left the door open for a couple of older characters that we know and love.
A really
Especially from
cool
Scream.
cameo too. That's kind of in it a few times without doing spoilers. Bringing back one of the original characters from the original Scream for just like a to tie into the story. It was a really cool addition, I thought.
Yeah, I did too. Like, I really want to get into it and just talk spoilers about it, but I also don't. But like, man, it's really hard not to do it. But I really enjoy. I know exactly what you're talking about, and I really like that. That was really, really interesting for me. I love that they went back to the original Scream house in this movie.
Yes.
I wish that they didn't show us all of the behind the scenes stuff. Because then I wouldn't have known that they were going back to the house. But I'm really glad that they did because it was cool. Killer deaths were really nice in this movie. I really enjoyed those. And another cameo that I'll talk about real quick is there's a YouTube channel that I've been watching since its inception, right? And it's called Dead Meat. And James James A. Janice is like the host for Dead Meat. And his now wife, Chelsea, also does a lot of stuff with that as well. And they have their own podcast too and all that. But like they had a cameo in that movie. Like they were
cool.
on YouTube on the movie and people were watching them talk about other stab movies. So that was really cool.
That's cool.
So I really enjoyed seeing them on screen. And that was a well-kept secret. I really enjoyed that. But the movie itself was awesome. I love the music in the movie. Ghostface was actually scary again, and that's not been a thing for several movies now. So I really enjoyed seeing that.
I love how they continue to break the fourth wall. Like all horror movie things, they like constantly kind of like make fun of it, and they recite the rules, and they do all this stuff that back when Scream was made was taboo to do, and now it's like just accepted in this franchise, and they even do it through the movie that's made in Scream, Stab. Kind of going back and even making fun of previous Screams through Stab, like, why did they do this? This was stupid in Stab, whatever. And, talking about all the different things. I really like that they do that and they can kind of play off of that with the story.
Yeah. I will say there was a character in this movie, like Kyle Gallner. I don't know if you know that actor, but he was in like... He's in a bunch of stuff from like the early 2000s, but the only movie I can think of him being in right now is Jennifer's Body. He was in that, and he was in the terrible remake of Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yes, yeah. He was the main guy in it.
Yeah. So like I really liked that actor, but like he was in this movie for like 2 seconds, man. I was like, what happened? Where is he? I want him back. Put him back on the screen. I really wanted to see more of that. But the other thing I was going to say about this movie is I can officially say that I have 2 new favorite characters. Like the twin characters, Chad and Mindy. I love them.
Chad's played by Cuba Gooding Jr.'s son, I believe, Mesa.
That's right, Mason, right? Yeah. Mason Gooding.
Which I thought was cool. I actually didn't know he was an actor, and so I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I enjoyed the hell out of that. And then the girl that plays Mindy, I think her name's Jasmine Brown, I think is her name. Yeah. And she was fantastic. Like, as soon as she came on screen and started, like, speaking, like, I was like, you know what? This is probably my favorite character in the whole movie. And that ended up being the truth. And Chad, like, what you think he's going to be as opposed to what he ends up being, I love that kind of swerve they give you in the movie.
True.
And, like, I really hope that we get more characters like them in future Scream films,
Yeah.
because that is exactly what this franchise needs.
Didn't they already announce? I think they're going to do another Scream based on the success of this one.
Yeah, they're definitely working on one, and they'd be insane not to. It's too good. It's too good.
The formula they put in place with this one and kind of how they've revitalized the franchise, I think it can go in a good direction. I think they kind of opened up a lot of doors that they can start crossing and moving the franchise now. And so I'm excited to see where they go. I actually really did enjoy this one. I went in, based on how some of the other ones have been going, I went in with tempered expectations, and I was happy with it. I really enjoyed my watch of it. Like you said, I really enjoyed the older characters, where how they tied them in, as well as the new blood and the cameos and stuff like that. Yeah, I really liked it. I was pleasantly surprised.
I thought it was fantastic. I can't wait for the next one. Like, this movie was so good where I won't complain if they just go ahead and announce that they're doing 2 more to just make another trilogy. That's how good this one was for me.
I think they could make some good swerves too. Like, I already have stuff in my head. Like, obviously I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to put spoilers, but based on how this one wrapped up, I could already see some nice curves coming based on what they've done. That would be kind of cool, but yeah. Good movie. Definitely preferred this one over Texas Chainsaw Massacre out of the 2 releases, by far.
Absolutely.
But we have just crossed we're a little over an hour and 30, actually hour and 35 minutes. So I think this is a good point for us to wrap up and, kind of close it out for the first episode of Sippin With Sin. Again, bear with us. Like, it's probably technical difficulties. I mean, I know Christian's mic went out at one point. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see a lovely picture of Christian. He chose not to be on camera because he didn't want to make me look bad. But in all actuality, he'll have a camera. We'll get that, a little more updated as we go for sure. But kind of just the start of it, just getting it rolling. So things will get better as we go along and as we improve and we get more episodes under our belt and stuff. But we wanted to get it started finally after talking about this for probably the last couple years, and now we're finally doing it. So yeah. Anything you want to say in outro? Do you want to tell people where to find you? On social media, if they want to come check out your art or check out your post or anything like that, or your content, or is there anything you want to put in conclusion to what we've talked about?
Absolutely. First, I'll just say I really enjoyed you having me here. I can't wait to do more. So thank you for the opportunity. And as far as where to find me, I'm on social media. I pretty much stick to the social media for Sippin With Sin, which is at Sippin With Sin on everything. And also, if you want to talk to me personally, look at some of the artwork that I have going up, you can find me at Ven and Ink. That's VEN and Ink. And I am on Instagram mostly. So if you want to get in touch with me, that's where you will find me. And you will see a lovely artist rendition of my face.
Heck yeah. And hopefully we'll have some merch and some other goodies for you guys coming soon. We have big plans for the podcast. It's still in the early stages, but you got to start somewhere, right? So things hopefully will be rolling out over time for you guys, and we'll have some more stuff. But be sure to rate this podcast, drop it some love, subscribe to it, and tune in with us weekly. Myself, you can find me on pretty much all social media, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Hover, anywhere. IamSinister TV. You can watch this on YouTube at YouTube, IamSinister. Just go to YouTube, .com, IamSinister, and you'll find me. And yeah, I'm live Monday through Friday over on Facebook Gaming, fb.gg/IamSinisterTV, and then you can even check out some of the Twitch streams. We may even eventually be streaming this live over on Twitch, over at twitch.tv/IamSinisterTV. But as Christian said, you can check out Sippin With Sin on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Sippin With Sin. You can come check out all the socials and show some love to them. There'll be clips from this, as well as some other fun stuff posted through them. And yeah. And it's been a fun first episode. Let's air horn it because we have officially wrapped our first episode. And you got anything you want to tell the people before we go?
Yeah, don't get gutted.
Oh my God, that was dark and brutal. Okay, well, I guess that's how you end it. But thanks for listening. I appreciate you all taking the time to check it out. If you've listened this long, you are a real one. And yeah, everyone have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you guys next week for episode 2.